What's up, everybody? It is a soap opera Sunday here again today. Gonna talk about the other soap operas from this past week. It was a short week for all of the soaps minus Days of Our Lives. Obviously, Beyond the Gates only had 2 episodes this past week. Young and the Restless, General Hospital only had 3. Days, the only one on all 5 days this past week because they are on Peacock. And I think we will start with Days. It is once again the only soap I was kind of feeling. Last week, not so much, but this past week of episodes, I feel like we are getting to a place where the setup could actually be setting up some good stories. What Days has been missing for me with these new writers over the past several months now is the execution of their stories. We are seeing good ideas sometimes, but those ideas are either coming across way too boring or frankly being stretched out too slowly. I think these writers could use a faster pace, especially if their plots aren't going to be the most interesting. Then they need to quicken up the pace. I think that could help, but we do have some potential. They did just post a preview for the next couple months that looks good to me. The big stuff happening this past week was we ended last week with Sarah having an allergic reaction thanks to little Psycho Rachel switching her ice cream with Sarah's to make her have that allergic reaction with the pistachios. Brady confronted Rachel about it because he finally had suspicion that Rachel might be a psycho child. Finally, Brady learned that Rachel is the one that shot EJ. This is months and months in the making. I'm glad that's finally out to Brady. Brady realizing that maybe Kristen was protecting their daughter. Brady also upset that Marlena knew about this before him. Brady's always been a character kind of portrayed to us as on the slow side, and this was another incident of that. But now they are putting Rachel in Bayview, kind of the show's crazy house, which the preview for next week looks good because that's also where Sophia is, who's also kind of lost her mind a little bit and been in this catatonic state. But clearly, we've seen the preview, she's not in a catatonic state. I can get behind a crazy teen Sophia going forward. It beats a crazy child. This is what I said last week. I don't like the soap trope of a psycho child, but a trope of a teenager gone wild, I can deal with that a little bit more. The other big story is that Tony and Kristen have still been locked up in the Dimera family crypt. They've tried to wonder who could do this to them. I like them talking about that. Maybe it was Vivian Alamain, but if she was the one to do it, she wouldn't have left food and water. She likes to bury people alive without food and water, which is my first memories of Days, which is why that made me laugh, was back in the day when Vivian buried Carly alive. We'll get back to that. Some other stories going on. Marlena's been sick lately. She needs a temporary pacemaker. I like scenes between Marlena and Belle and Brady and Belle. So they had good scenes there, but I'm still wondering why this is Marlena's storyline after losing John. I'm hoping there's more to it, because if not, it's kind of like, I just don't feel like it's the best story for Marlena after losing John. I am still kind of enjoying the Gabby and Philip pairing. I like the scenes where Xander has been trying to make things up to Sarah and still losing. And then he's feeling left out when he sees Gabby and Philip kissing and Steve and Kayla kissing. The growth of the Xander character has been nice. Philip spending Thanksgiving with the Hernandez family to be with Gabby was also a good thing for the Gabby and Philip pairing. Leo and Javi got too much airtime for their Thanksgiving, though. I will never give a shit about Leo. The big thing at the end of the week was the Hortons spending Thanksgiving together. Doug died last Thanksgiving, so Julie needed a pep talk from Jack at the beginning of that episode to make sure she's going to be okay doing Thanksgiving this year. This also led to Julie and Jack talking about the situation between Chad and Jennifer, where Jennifer's trying to get custody of Chad's children, and things are getting messy there. And Jack's been taking his wife's side, which is fine by me, but they're still painting it as Thomas still not wanting to talk to Chad, but Charlotte wants to see her father. I think they've done a good job with this storyline. I know soap opera Reddit is very anti-Jennifer, but honestly, sorry to anybody on there, but soap opera Reddit has terrible takes. Like, honestly, I never agree with what I see posted on soap opera Reddit. I think it's been a very even story. I get Jennifer's point of view with the Chad and Kat situation because of what Kat did. And it's still a reason why I personally don't like the Kat character, because of the way she was introduced pretending to be Abby. I think it was just a poorly written story in general, because that's what Ron Carlivati does, is write poor stories. But nonetheless, it hasn't helped her character. And so I get Jennifer's point of view. The story here, though, is Chad doesn't show up for Thanksgiving. So Jennifer, of course, jumps to the conclusion that maybe he's with Kat, and it's crazy he's not coming to see his children, and this is why they're going for custody in the first place. But turns out Chad's been the latest Dimera kidnapped and thrown in the family crypt, as Tony and Kristen discover him at the end of the episode. I unfortunately did spoil myself, and I do know of a character returning in a recast, but at least the recast is an old One Life to Live actor. I don't like to talk about spoilers here on the channel, though, but because of that, this character is long overdue returning. So that excites me for this Dimera storyline and them all being kidnapped to the family crypt. I think it has potential to be a good payoff there for that story for days. Let's move on to The Young and the Restless. Now, last week I got to sit here and be very positive about The Young and the Restless. This week it's quite the opposite. I thought, Young and the Restless only had 3 episodes this past week, and I thought all 3 episodes sucked, quite frankly. I think this week of episodes, of there only being 3, kind of showed me why I stopped watching Josh Griffith's writing years ago with the show. He can't tell stories. They are so chopped up and all over the place that they just don't make sense to me. It's like, just tell the story, dude. Why isn't in one episode as Sienna and Noah being kidnapped out of nowhere, or we don't get to see them kidnapped. We just get to see Sienna suddenly with a kidnapped Noah, who we did see. I don't even know if we saw him get knocked out. So we didn't see what happened. We get to them and they're at this point where they're already locked up. Then there's an episode where Matt's confronting Sharon, but instead of us getting to see Nick break that up, we then just see Nick and Sharon searching for Noah and Sienna, and we have to have flashbacks of how Nick confronted Matt when Matt was with Sharon. And why are we telling these stories so choppy? Why are we seeing things in flashback that we should have just seen play out in real time? It doesn't make sense to me. And the LA story has lost all momentum, which I did expect from Josh's writing. He's just not a captivating writer these days. And yeah, this is another example of that. So I did not enjoy what little LA stuff we got because it was so choppy with the storytelling. The detectives showing up to help Sharon and Nick, but Sharon doesn't know if she can trust the detective. I don't really feel like we've gotten enough clues as to why Sharon should feel that way, even though she should feel that way. It's just more bad writing. It's always nice to see Ashley show up for Thanksgiving with the Abbotts, but it's kind of just a 1-episode thing. And that's also kind of how I felt about Christine and Dani's wedding. It was nice to see all these old characters like Nina and Gina, but Christina and Dani's wedding doesn't seem to have a big impact on the actual current canvas of characters. And it was just another time for Phyllis to try and act a fool yet again. I'm still up in the air about how I feel about the Phyllis and Kane pairing. It's something, I guess, but I don't know if it's enough to keep me wanting more. And then they pushed Claire back into Kyle's orbit this week, which I just find boring because Kyle is a boring character, and I'm very much team Claire and Holden because of their scenes weeks ago, because they actually have chemistry, which is hard to find on soap operas these days. Kyle keeps using his son as a way to get Claire to come over because his son honestly seems obsessed with Claire. And that was their whole thing on Thanksgiving, that he's thankful for the fact that she holds a special place in his son's heart and a special place in his heart. And Claire and Kyle end up kissing by the end of the week. It was pretty blah to me. So yeah, nothing on Young and the Restless this past week actually worked for me. So it definitely had a big fall compared to last week, where I was feeling at least a couple storylines on the show. I think a lot of Josh Griffith's terrible writing choices were very clear on this past week. Not saying I'm going to give it up yet, because I like the potential for Claire and Holden, and I like Audrey in that story too, but I don't know if they get enough airtime to keep me watching this show into the new year, but we'll see how that goes. Before I move on to General Hospital and some Beyond the Gates talk, let me promote the Patreon, patreon.com/OCGTV. You know, speaking of days, I am posting the Salem slasher storyline over on the Patreon, to that classic, I want to say convoluted serial killer storyline on Days of Our Lives back at the end of 1983, going into 1984.
I want your badge. What do you mean you want my badge? I want your badge. What is she talking about? Somebody's killed. Give me your badge.
Roman doesn't understand what's happening. Abe's having a hard time arresting his own partner, but he has to do his job. Also, for anyone into couples with actual chemistry like I am, getting to see those early Reva and Josh scenes on Guiding Light has been wonderful.
I like it when you look at me like that, with fire in your eyes. Lets me know you still care.
But yeah, there's a lot of different things on Patreon. If you want some excitement, I would probably say you need to go watch some old Days of Our Lives, some old Santa Barbara, maybe some old General Hospital I got on the Patreon right now. But you know, classic soap opera, classic problems between couples, but they have great chemistry. That's some Guiding Light right now from 1984. Let's move on though to General Hospital this past week. It's still a hard show for me to get into. Here's more problems I have with General Hospital, and I do once again blame Valentini and his production style. Ned had a heart attack 2 weeks ago, and I feel like they haven't followed up on it at all. And to me, that is a sign of a show, obviously with too many characters, which is what I keep harping on, but like awful pacing. What is the pacing on this show? I feel like I've been watching for a month now. Nothing's gotten resolved for any storyline. Ned had a heart attack. We don't get a follow-up. I feel like we've been watching this investigation into who shot Drew move at an absolute snail's pace, to a point where I don't even know why the characters still care, because Drew's still alive anyway. Obviously, the police on the show want to find the person that did that. But like, what is the real point of that story? I'm not sure, and that's a problem for me as a person trying to watch the show again. The relationship these days, or the friendship between Laura and Sonny, has been a turnoff to me. I don't like the way they have Laura acting with Sonny, with this whole her being set up for being the person that may have killed the professor. Like, I get why she's trying to find out if there is a way that she also has been set up for this. Like, is there a gun around her house? Like, I get that. I'm just not interested. It's similar to what I said last week. There's so many characters on this show, and I don't think any of those characters currently have this riveting storyline that keeps me wanting to watch. They really don't have that going for them. And then they're just adding new characters. I see that Liesel's still alive. She's still on the show visiting Nina. It's just more characters to add on to every week. And that's why these stories ain't moving. Because there's just so many characters that we have to get involved with the show. But like, most of them don't have a big story. They're kind of just there. And thus the actual storylines on the show are going nowhere. It's a problem. Let's see if I have any positives, because I doubt I do. Because the Josh and Carly drama over Lucas moving in with Marco, I think that's just going to be a way to make Lucas look stupid. Josh is working against the case. I don't even know this case. I don't know what Faison's last project is. I don't know Sidwell's connection to that project. Also, what I said last week, Sidwell's supposed to be this villain. What is this thing they're doing at the hospital? Why did they have the professor doing research at the hospital? What is the research for? What is the point of... I need someone to explain this in the comments. What is Sidwell's point as a character? What is the big bad stuff he's actually doing? Because I've been watching for a month and I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess the positives, though, is that Ava and Sidwell continue to get closer, a little too slowly for me. That would make me a little more interested, because at least Ava would be involved with something, because she's clearly just a side character right now with no real storyline of her own. And that is another problem for me with the show. I also have been pulled into the Willow, Drew, and Michael stuff. It's clearly the best thing about the show right now. Willow possibly moving back with Drew, and Drew just trying to get her to feel safe. I don't know a lot of the history between these two over the past 2 years, but as I said last week, Drew is more of a villain that I'm finding more intriguing than Sidwell. I liked how Drew proposed to Willow with the same ring that Michael gave her in his proposal. It's a very odd thing to do, but it seems like Drew is always trying to mess with Michael at all costs. And so when Michael oversees her telling Liz that she's engaged to, or Drew asked her to marry her, and shows off the ring, and Michael sees the ring, obviously Michael is not loving that. So I guess that's the only thing going for the show. I don't know. I'm pretty discouraged to keep watching General Hospital. I might pick up Bold and the Beautiful instead of it, or I might try to do both, but I don't know. I just feel like Bold and the Beautiful is probably going to be even worse than General Hospital, but at least that I know that show's going to move, because I know Bold and the Beautiful moves too fast, whereas General Hospital clearly doesn't move at all. It's just been treading water. They're good at letting things happen. I've said this the past couple of weeks. They have cliffhangers. We got to see Sidwell kill the professor and set up Laura. But now I just feel like that story is going to move at a snail's pace, just like the investigation into who shot Drew. And yeah, I'm not enjoying General Hospital, in case you can't tell from the past 4 weeks I've been talking about it. Let's move on to some of your comments from Beyond the Gates. It was a short week, only 2 episodes, so I don't have a lot of comments. Devin said at one point, yes, why hasn't Ted asked dumbass about sleeping with Eva? This was in response to me saying that Ted was pressing Isaiah over Eva, but not the fact that Tomas slept with both Eva and Kat. I do feel like that is some terrible fathering from Ted, but what else is new from that character? Pulse Graves said, I'm thinking Leslie and Marcel will develop some kind of relationship. Marcel may be playing up to Leslie, knowing already that she is guilty of 2 attempted murders, but the evidence isn't quite there for them to prove it, and maybe he might later uncover something to use. A bigger concern would be that these 2 get close, start scheming away, and Leslie learns of the Dupree's cover-up scandal with Martin and all that went down with Kenny and that scandal. This could be a deadly game for Leslie if she becomes a threat to Marcel and ultimately Joey, who wants to keep the Duprees and Martin beholding to them. I'd love to see Leslie start pushing the wrong people and ultimately fall. There could be some good possibilities with Leslie and Marcel getting close. Will that bring Leslie more into Joey's orbit? I don't know. I want Leslie to have a fall, but not as big of a fall as I think a lot of the other viewers want her to have. If Leslie's going to be in Joey's orbit, I would choose Leslie over Joey any day. Grandpa Gangster doesn't do it for me. I don't care how big of a crush the head writer seems to have on that character. Also, it's a black soap opera. The white villain should not be the ultimate villain to me, in my opinion. Let's have Leslie not fall because of Joey, especially since I think Haley's already going to fail in her scheming because of Joey. So Joey does a little too much for my liking. The writing gives him a little too much to do, and he's stuck in one of the worst things on the show, which is his coupling with Vanessa. Sarah said, I would be happy to see Leslie and Marcel get together. They could cause all kinds of trouble. There is a bit of chemistry between them, unlike Leslie and Ted. They were the highlight of this episode. I like that Eva and Isaiah are getting closer. I did hate what he was wearing. I couldn't decide if he was sweating or that was some kind of gross design aesthetic. Just ew, yuck. I think, they were trying to make Isaiah look all sweaty after working out. Maybe that was supposed to be hot for him and Eva. I don't know. But yeah, I'm behind Eva and Isaiah for right now. And I do agree that Leslie and Marcel actually did have a bit of chemistry. Elisa cracked me up with this comment this past week. This came after Elon was ranting to Jacob about how crime is up in DC and arrests are down. Elisa said, I thought DC was the safest city in the world now, according to Cheeto. Somebody's lying. Facts. And he is lying regardless. Gemini P1525 said, did anybody else notice that when Ted invited Eva to Martin's for dessert, Leslie turned him down to go be with Peaches, and he looked at her like, girl, I didn't even ask you. I'm sure he addressed Eva to go with him, not the both of them. I thought that was funny. Yeah, that was funny. Leslie did think he was addressing her too. She's overstepping with Ted, but she does that because Ted does let her overstep. That's it. Looking at next week's preview of Beyond the Gates, we get some Real Housewives of Potomac again, which is funny to me because one of them is Wendy, who is currently in trouble with the law. But we will see Wendy and Gizelle make a cameo next week. We're going to see Dani call out Vanessa for being a pimp. I hope Dani stays on Vanessa's neck. That will make me very happy. Dani's already become one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character right now. If they have her stay on Vanessa's neck about this whole situation with Joey, she might be goated as my favorite character on the show. The rest of the preview, we get more Vanessa and Joey arguments, which I am not looking forward to. I am looking forward to more Isaiah and Eva scenes. Chelsea will be back, and I'm going to stand by this complaint I made on the Thanksgiving episode. The fact that we didn't get to see Chelsea have Thanksgiving with Madison and Madison's mom, and that all happened off screen, it means there's no actual real story for Chelsea and Madison right now. And I think that's a mistake. I think it could have been entertaining. I think they could be a good couple if the writers would write them an actual storyline. But I feel like they're afraid to go too far into, I guess, a lesbian couple on daytime TV, even though, whatever. I don't know. That still annoys me. I think it was a mistake. But yeah, that's all for this week's Soap Opera Sundays. I'll see you all for tomorrow's new episode of Beyond the Gates, and I'll be back next Sunday.